In this section, we're going to be talking about the importance of a research question as well as how to create one. Now, the example that we were using in our last video was the history of the Spokane parks and the Olmsted brothers' architectures. Now, that's a really big and broad topic. I need to take that topic and narrow it down to my research question, which is going to have more focus. A good way to do this is to take those notes that you've made before, and now we're going to start to create a list of various elements of that topic, start to break it down. So we're going to start by asking questions like who is involved, what is the main focus, where is it happening, and when is it happening. So we can see in the examples I have here, earlier I knew that the Olmsted architecture firm existed, but I wasn't sure who was involved. So that pre-research helped me get some names. It also helped me realize that the different government entities and city planners were really critical. I'm realizing that my main focus has to do with city planning, history of parks, and as I was doing my pre-research, I also found that social class came up a lot, which I wouldn't have thought of originally. But it really ties into this idea of having open spaces for everyone and being able to have access to that, which really didn't exist in the early 1900s and was really becoming a trend. Here I also have decided I can go at different broader, narrow aspects of where this is occurring. Spokane, the Pacific Northwest, Washington State. I'd say follow the guidelines of your assignment. Does it have to be something that's Spokane specific? Can it be something in the region? And then we also want to look at when this is occurring because it's a history paper. From here, I say start to circle what interests you the most in each of those sections. From this, we can start to create a research question. So here in my example, I have, what role did the Olmsted landscape architecture firm play in developing the park structures in the Pacific Northwest in the 1900s? So we can see that I've gone from a really broad concept of the Olmsted brother architectures, and at this point I really am focusing more on the structure and city development. I might even want to take that research question and add that city development aspect into it more explicitly if that's what I really find interesting. There's many different directions you could go with this. So let's say, on the other hand, I was also really interested in the social class aspect of it. Here I have a completely different research question. How did the Olmsted landscape architecture firm's design of parks in Washington State address issues of classism in the 20th century? So here again, we've gone from that very broad idea to something more concrete and more focused. At this part, I'm going to encourage you to take out a piece of paper and a pencil. Honestly, it only takes about 5 minutes. And start to answer each of these questions on your own so you can start to develop your own focus within your paper. Once you've done that, we're going to move on to actually creating the research question. Now, as you create your research question, there's some things you want to keep in mind. One is if you have the time to do justice to that research question and answering it. Honestly, one of the things I see students struggle with the most is picking concepts that are too broad, that honestly you could write a book about. You might get really excited about your topic and say, no, I want to talk about city planning in the region as well as social classism and another aspect of it. I promise you though that your paper is going to go by so much faster than you think, and you really need to find focus within that topic. You can't address all of those things in a 5 to 10 page paper, even a 20-page paper. You really want to find a certain aspect of it that you can research well and still meet your assignment requirements. So whatever that is, remember to find focus within it. You also want to make sure you do that pre-search because it's going to help you make sure that there are resources that you can use on the topic. And then the very last thing to keep in mind is that you are the person answering this original question. When we write, it's so that you can put an idea out there that someone else has used before. If you're creating or someone else has not used before. If you're creating a research paper where it's just basically a timeline of what occurred, A, B, C, that's not a lot of fun to read, is it? And you're not adding really a new perspective to what you're looking at. So as you create your research question and start to focus on that topic of the paper, look at these different aspects here to help you brainstorm. Is it something that hasn't been studied before? Is it something that you're adding a new perspective to? Like, what do you have to add to this conversation? That's what academia is all about, getting your voice out there and introducing new ideas. So let's start by creating that research question, and then in the next video we're going to talk about different source types. And this is really important because knowing your source types and how to be strategic in searching between archives, videos, scholarly articles is going to help you be more strategic and save you a lot of time.